Greetings, my fellow beings. Over the past few years, I have been having some struggles with people not understanding my illnesses, or to be quite frank, not knowing what an invisible illness is. So I wanted to start making some videos about what invisible illnesses are. Whether or not it's physical or mental, it doesn't matter. They're all invisible. And a lot of times when people think of disabilities, they think of somebody in a wheelchair. And if they're in a wheelchair, then that means that they are paralyzed and cannot move. And so when they get up from a wheelchair, they believe that they're faking it. And that is definitely not the case. Not everybody that is in a wheelchair is paralyzed. First, I wanted to make a video briefly talking about all the illnesses that I have, and then I'm going to break them down into other videos going into more detail on each of the things that I have. And so let's go over a few things of what I have and the fact that I am actually disabled. And yes, I do have a disability parking tag, and yes, I do use it. And no, I'm not faking it. And just because I'm not always in my wheelchair, it does not mean that I don't need the handicap parking. If you want to see me pass out quite quickly, make me park at the end of the parking lot and you'll see why I need it. And quite frankly, not everybody that is disabled actually looks disabled. And I want to break some of those myths of what looking disabled is. And I'm sorry about the camera shaking. I can't seem to make the tripod stop doing that. I move a lot. I also have restless leg syndrome. I forgot to put that on my list. So I move a lot. So there's that. So let's talk about my biggest disability, the thing that will probably get me disability in the future. It is myalgic encephalomyelitis, and simply put, it is inflammation of the brain and spinal cord with muscle pain. And goodness, that is as simplistic as it can possibly get, because it doesn't really give it justice. But I promise I'm going to go over it in more detail in the future in a different video. I also have postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, also known as POTS. It's much easier to say, and I have said that to medical professionals and they think I'm talking about weed for some reason. No. Basically, what it is that my brain is not telling my blood vessels when I stand up. There's a hormone that sends down to the body. It doesn't happen where it tells my blood vessels to tighten up and say, hey, you're gonna stand up, we need to tighten up so that blood can go back up to the brain and to the heart. That does not happen for me, and so I end up having my blood pool into my feet, and I get really dizzy, and I go into what I call brownouts, which is an almost blackout. It's where the darkness is coming in, but I usually lay down before I actually black out, and so I come back from that. And this is also why I breathe heavily. It annoys me to no end, so I can't even imagine what it does to other people. And I have an extremely high heart rate, even just from standing. Sometimes I have to take my heart rate standing in line at stores. And we're talking about the 140s for my heart rate. So if the line is long, I don't go into the store. I basically don't go to stores very often anymore. So there's that. I also have post-exertional malaise, or PEM, much easier. And this means that from slight exertion, that is physical or mental, my brain will swell and I will go into what is called a crash. So I will be in bed for at least a week. If I do one small thing during the week, maybe I go to a party or maybe I go out to eat or something, that will cause me to be in bed and not be able to get out of bed for about a week. And depending on the activity, it can last longer. I've been in a crash for about a month now. And it didn't help with the holidays, I will tell you that. Lots of family parties. So that didn't help at all. So it also causes brain fog, so I feel stupid a lot of the times. I always prided myself on knowing a lot of stuff, and brain fog is a real thing. And it is not fun when someone asks you, hey, Amanda should know this, and I don't know what that is anymore. So learning for me is becoming harder, and that's one of the things that is really starting to get me, is the fact that my brain isn't working as well as it used to. So moving on, I have endometriosis, which is a hellish condition where the endometrial lining of the uterus can move anywhere in the body, literally anywhere. It can also go to the brain. Luckily for me, it has not gone to my brain, but it can attach anywhere. And that means that if you are cramping, everywhere cramps. So if it's on your intestines, those are cramping too. If it's on your stomach is cramping. It also causes infertility and a myriad of other issues that I will go into much better detail later in a different video, but it is not a fun condition. Celiac disease is next on my list. This means I cannot eat anything with gluten in it. Yes, I am one of those people, but I am not one of those people that think that it's a healthy diet and they eat it just because. It is not a healthy diet. If you can eat bread, okay? Yes. But that being said, it's not an illness that is a joke. A lot of people think that celiac disease is, oh, you eat some gluten and your stomach hurts a little bit. No, it's an illness that could kill me. So please don't sneak gluten into my food. I have had people do that. Yeah. If I even eat microscopic amounts of gluten, it will strip the villi in my intestines, which will cause severe, horrendous pain. But it also makes it so that I will slowly starve to death because I'm not getting the nutrients I need from the food. It is a real disease, no matter what people tell you, and it is not a joke. And you will hear a lot of rants in that video. There are a lot of rants in that one. So celiac disease. I tell you, camera, stop moving. Celiac disease is not a fun one. We'll just say that. Asthma! Yay for asthma. If you don't know what asthma is, then I guess you'll be learning in that video. Luckily for me, mine has calmed down the older I get, so I haven't had to use my inhaler as often as I did when I was little, which was frequently, and we'll talk about why I have asthma to begin with in that video. It's gonna be great. Migraines! Yay! I have migraines. No, it is not just a headache, and I really don't like it when people just get a bad headache and like, oh, I'm having a migraine. Are you though? I doubt it. People who have migraines definitely know what a migraine is. It can be a wild trip though, because you can see weird things, you can taste things that aren't there. I lose sight in my left eye. That's usually how I know I'm going to get a migraine, is I all of a sudden can't see out of my left eye. You also sometimes want to put a drill to your head because you think that that pain would be preferable to what you're going through. Sights, sounds, things like that can cause horrendous, excruciating pain, which is why I have blackout curtains. Yeah, migraines. They're not fun. No, we'll go into that. I also have vestibular migraines. Those are fun. I'll probably clump that in with my migraine video. But that's where your brain says the world is going one way, but it's not. And so all of a sudden a wall is in your face, and you make friends with walls often. So with my POTS, getting dizzy, and vestibular migraines combined, I make friends with walls a lot. Yep, walls are my friends. Yeah. So let's move on to mental disorders. Mental disorders are real. They are just as real as physical disorders, and I am sick of people thinking that they're not. I desperately want to change people's perception on these because for some reason they're not taken seriously. So the first one is I suffer from depression, and that mostly is caused by my other illnesses, doing weird things to my body and me not being able to do anything about it. And also that my life has changed completely. I am no longer an active human being. I am usually stuck on this recliner, which is probably the other reason why this camera won't stop shaking, because it's also a rocking chair. Yeah. There are a few other reasons for depression, and I'll go over that. PTSD, yes. People who have never served in the military can have PTSD, and yes, I unfortunately have it. And I will go over all of those wonderful things and what PTSD actually is. That's not a fun one. I have ADHD. That's fun. Not really. Your mind goes 1 billion miles an hour and you can't seem to get a thought in your head longer than a second, and then it's gone. And this is also why people think that conversations with my sister and I are really weird, because we can change subjects without letting each other know we're changing subjects, and it just goes 1 billion miles an hour. My sister also has ADHD. Hers is far worse than mine. My dad also has it, and I just found out that my little brother has it too. So, yay for genetics! That's fun. Unfortunately, this mental disorder is not taken seriously. It is oftentimes the butt of jokes, and it kills me because it is real, and it is a condition that can wreck someone's life. Luckily for me, mine is pretty mild, but for people who have severe ADHD, it can wreck their lives, and yet it's still a joke for people to talk about. So I want to discuss that a little bit. Anxiety is definitely one that I could live without. Unfortunately, I do live with it. I can have panic attacks that seem to start from absolutely nowhere, and then I will freak out just the same, just because something is concerning me. Yeah, so anxiety is one that has also increased drastically since I have been pretty much housebound. That's a great one. Yeah. Yay for anxiety. Night terrors. I have a lot of sleep issues, but this one is the worst of all of my sleep disturbances. A night terror is a nightmare where you are semi-conscious, so whatever you're dreaming about is in the real world and you can see it and you will interact with it. So I will scream, I will jump, I will flail, and my poor husband has had to tackle me more than once because there is someone in my room, there's someone standing next to the bed, there could be, the most recent one was like bats in my light. I have a guy who likes to lurk in my closet. I have a really scary guy who likes to hover over my head and breathe on me. So those are fun. Yeah, night terrors. Yeah. Lastly, of the illnesses that I can remember, because I have quite a big list, is just insomnia. I spend a lot of time walking around my house as best I can because of the POTS and the vestibular migraines. So a lot of running into walls. I plan future crafts. I usually end up thinking about horrible things that I did like 20 years ago, or said something to some poor person 10 years ago that they probably don't even remember. That's usually my insomnia right there. I hope that maybe this list has helped you see a lot of the disorders that I have. And a person can have a lot on their plate and you will never know. You will think that they are a perfectly healthy person because they put their face together and they put clothes on and they do their hair and they look great, and you have no idea that they are going through a lot. So I hope that this helped you see a little bit about what I'm going through, and I promise to go through each one of them in more detail, and I hope to branch out to other things that maybe I don't have, so that we can break some of the stigmas that come with a lot of these illnesses that are out there. And I have found that the biggest thing that gets rid of fear is knowledge, and if you know about something, then it's a lot less scary. Just remember to be kind to everyone you see. You never know what they are going through, and being kind is completely free, so hand it out to everybody. Be kind, my friends, and I'll see you next time.